This has been a crazy 2 years. I think it's pretty cool that we are gathered together to talk about how to grow businesses strategically after what's been a wild time. So today we have an amazing panel. It's called Growing Your Business, a guide on expanding strategically. We will be talking about expanding restaurants' footprints sustainably and without burning out, a topic of conversation. Our goal is that if you're in the midst of expansion, you can think about ways to grow your business and you'll come away with something. A new idea, a fresh perspective, a new strategy that you can apply to make your business more successful. So we are joined by an amazing crew. Pinky Cole, DoorDash Chief Restaurant Officer and owner of Slutty Vegan. Let's give her a round of applause. Woo! Woo! Sarah Kramer, Chef Owner, Kismet, and Kismet Rotisserie. Woo! And Erin Novashen, Founder and CEO of Starboard. Thank you, guys. So I'm gonna kick off the convo with a few topics that we were talking about earlier. And Sarah, I'm gonna start this with you.
No pressure.
No pressure. We've known each other for a long time.
True, we're neighbors.
We are neighbors, we are friends, and you sometimes give me rides in the neighborhood.
It's
very
true.
Charming.
Your personal chauffeur.
You started with Kismet.
I did.
And then you expanded into Kismet Rotisserie, and that's been a whole wild journey.
Very different, yes.
How have you maintained quality? As I know it's something that you are like lunatically obsessed with, as you should be, and you've always had the best produce at Kismet, and then all of a sudden you were like, let's have more doors. How do you do that without losing sleep at night? Or maybe you do lose sleep. Tell us about both.
Well, no one wants to hear about my sleep schedule, but yeah, I think that we're still pretty new to the scale game, so I'm bringing the freshest perspective on the panel here today. I definitely have a lot to learn from these two. But we started with a more fine dining concept and expanded to a very casual concept, which some of you may have eaten for lunch today, which is a rotisserie chicken place with a lot of vegetables and a lot of sides and pita and hummus, etc. So thank you. Thank you. Thanks for having us, DoorDash. Really excited to be feeding everyone here today. But we brought in our sourcing in-house. We have our own farmers market person who works directly with both restaurants, and we'll continue to grow that service to ourselves as we scale. So they interact with the farms and they have those conversations. They take the orders from our chefs and they place them and then distribute them to our locations. So we'll continue again to grow that as we scale to new locations, of which we have 3 new ones in the works right now, which is really exciting.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Is that for this year?
Probably. Well, if we're lucky, we'll get all 3 open in the next calendar year, but definitely 2. Studio City first, and then Culver City, and the third one actually isn't announced yet, so I'm not going to tell you, but it's happening.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, that's awesome. So just to kind of look into the future, I'm just curious, do you have a head count of how many places you guys want to have?
Oh, who's to say at this point? There's many years ahead of us down the road.
Okay.
We're going to get there.
Right,
I don't know. We'll see. It depends on sort of how the scaling goes for us and how it feels. But I think just back to the maintaining quality question, I think a big part of it for us is going to be figuring out what we want to outsource versus what we want to bring in-house. And as we scale, what we can do ourselves versus what we can have other people do for us.
That's a huge question.
It's a really big question. And I think, again, probably have much more to say about it from actual experience. And ours is just purely speculative right now.
Yeah.
But, thinking about our chili oil and whether we have that made for us and co-packed, our pita, whether we have that made for us or whether we make it in-house and start our own bakery in-house essentially just for pita. Those are going to be big questions for us as we scale. And I think can't underestimate training for employees in terms of quality and having a very strong training program, because really quality is about the people making the things. So I think that is like a huge point of focus for us, really working with our teams and giving them the resources that they need to succeed.
I love that. So true. Pinky. Hi, girl.
Hi, girl.
You have opened some new spots, huh?
Yes, I
Georgia,
have.
Alabama. Mm-hmm. What else? One in Brooklyn.
Harlem coming.
Woo!
LA is coming too.
I love it. So as a restaurateur, when you were thinking about the expansion, like what were the top 2 factors that you kind of kept in mind as you were doing that? Because that's a lot of spots.
It's a lot. First of all, I want to say I feel you. Your energy is so magnetic. And that level of excitement, like that's the kind of excitement I have growing my business and like always keep
that's
that.
easy to see.
Yes. Oh, you always keep that because I like saw myself in you when you were talking. What was your question? What you ask me?
You're like, I love you. Where were we?
I'm like, yes, girl, yes.
I said, what are the top 2 factors to keep in mind before you're starting all those different spots?
So the top 2 factors, I am very intentional about how I open Slutty Vegan. So they have to check either one of these boxes. They have to be in a vegan food desert or a regular food desert. They have to be less attractive to big-time developers, people who don't want to come into this neighborhood because they don't feel like it would make money, and right in the heart of gentrification.
Oh, I love that.
If
so
it
like
checks
major
at least,
differentiators.
Yes. If it checks at least one of these boxes, then Slutty Vegan can go in that community. On top of that, I'm an energy person, so like I gotta be in the space, I gotta smell it, I gotta feel it, like I gotta envision customers walking through the door because it really has to feel like what Slutty Vegan feels like. And I know the customer, how they walk, how they talk, how they look, what they think about based on our data and analytics. So I know if this would be a great location for Slutty Vegan. And what that does is when Slutty Vegan comes into a neighborhood, it raises the value of the community.
Right.
So now we're talking about real estate, right?
Right.
So it raises the value because more people want to live in that kind of area because there's a booming business, lines down the block. So the other businesses nearby get to win, right? So it raises the ecosystem for everybody. So I'm very intentional on how I do that. And most of the properties that we get, we purchase them versus just leasing them because if I own the dirt and the business, if anything ever happens to the business, I still own the building.
Well,
and I've been very, very, very intentional about that.
That's amazing. And that's so smart. I mean, it sounds like you're using art and science, which we always use at Headley Event. It's like you got to have your gut, but you also then have to have some numbers to back it up and then feel it out, make sure it's right.
And it's worked so far.
Yeah.
So if something changes, I'll call you and let you know.
Give us a call. Awesome. So, Mr. Aaron, lovely to have you here, my co-pilot to my right.
Woohoo.
Let's transition over to you. You started with some virtual situations, right? It was all ghost kitchen to begin?
Not exactly.
Oh,
but
tell us more.
I can tell you this origin story if it's helpful.
Tell us.
She had a ghost kitchen to start, I heard this morning, and I'm going to try. I'm not going to be able to bring half as much energy as the two of you. You guys are so awesome and amazing human beings, but I'll do my part.
Okay, great. We're ready.
Origin was, Starbird is a positively delicious chicken. We just opened a restaurant here in LA. I grew up in LA, brought it home. Feels good to be back in LA. Let's hear for LA.
Yeah.
LA is a thing. Excited to be in LA. And, we wanted to basically fix things that were wrong with fast food, right? Convenience, food quality, ingredients, design, aesthetic, how you interconnect with the consumer. And so we just went out, I've got an agency called The Culinary Edge. We create brands. We do stuff for a lot of other people. I wanted to enfranchise my team at The Culinary Edge to not just tell others what to do with decks and cooking food, but actually let's be entrepreneurs. Let's walk the talk. That was the origin of Starbird. As part of that journey, we did create virtual brands. We do operate ghost kitchens. And, that's been an exciting approach for us. A virtual brand for us is, we've got 4 of them: Starbird wings, Starbird salads, Garden Bird, which is our vegetarian concept, and Starbird bowls, or Starbird wings, bowls, salads, Garden Bird, in addition to Starbird chicken. And a lot of our virtual brand creation was designed to access digital real estate, to bring new people into the Starbird family. During the pandemic, there weren't a lot of people going out to restaurants. They were all ordering food digitally. So we wanted to get the new digital real estate, as we called it originally, and also be able to reach people where they wanted to be reached. So that was the origin of our virtual brands.
That makes so much sense. And are there any, since you've operated so many ghost kitchens, are there any things that fresh, young guys out here, or old guys, we love everyone, anything that they should look out for as they're setting up and operating a ghost kitchen?
Yeah, so we operate our virtual brands both in our ghost kitchens and in our brick and mortar restaurants. So they're not unique to either, although we do more of our testing out of our ghost kitchens.
Got it.
You know, there's this belief that, oh, you open up a ghost kitchen, you build it, they'll come, right? And a lot of times it's like, maybe they won't, don't know. It's the competitive space there and the low barrier to entry is a challenge.
Right.
You also maybe promise like, oh, you only need 2 people to work there and it's low labor and it's low investment. Those are all great. But in my experience, sales cure all ills, and you're not going to be able to save your way to prosperity. So generating sales, in my opinion, is the greatest way to survive. So you need the sales in that space to cover what your brand needs to provide to the community to make it work as a business. Okay, so low investment and cost savings is not the way for long-term success. That's the way I think about it.
I love that. So what have been some of the things that you've done to kind of boost sales and get communities around you to care about what you're doing?
Well, I mean, community-wise, the biggest thing we did was, a couple of years ago, we closed the doors to all our restaurants on March 16th.
How many was that?
We had 6 open at the time in San Francisco Bay Area. And we just said, okay, we're going to lean into our team and we're going to lean into the community. We're going to keep them safe.
Yep.
We're going to give them extra money and pay them well.
Yep.
We're going to give them meals to take home to their families every day. And we're going to start dropping off food to the community every single day. And so we engaged in our community, whether it be hospitals or local, community centers. We just leaned in hard to that. And it really woke us up. It's like, well, this is what we can do right now. So let's participate. And hope was a little bit of a strategy. We didn't know if it was going to get its returns, but it really helped build the ties with the communities that we were in. Coming into LA, we gave away 1,000 meals the other day to open the doors, and it was just so fun to see every walk of life coming from a huge 10, 20-mile circle around, just coming by to try Starboard, spreading positivity to LA.
I love that. Ladies, what about you guys? When you're opening, do you have any strategy for how you build community, how you build your own brand, whether it's virtual or, brick and mortar?
I feel like you should take this one. You've done so many more openings than I have.
Sure. So my business is built around the philanthropic arm. And what I realized is the more good you do in the community, the more it comes back to you in the form of support for your business. Like, it's tried and true, right? I started my foundation in 2019 as really a way just to formalize the things that I was already doing. I was spending money, making sure that people in the community were good. So the minute I really started to formalize it, I realized that we could find metrics around that. So what happened with my business is people started looking at my brand as in a hospital, to a sort, right? Like, you need some medication, you come to the hospital of the Pinky Cole Foundation, and we supply you with the thing that you need. And when people started learning more about what we have done in the community, guess what they do? They talk about it. And when people talk about it, they want to know who's behind this organization, who's behind the brand, let's go and support.
Right.
So when you talk about us doing openings and scaling, we make sure that doing the work in the community is always at the forefront of what we do, because it's a win for everybody. The community wins, the business continues to win, because as we scale, more people will come to the business. Everybody feels good because we are now a community partner.
Right.
And I said this earlier, it is not enough just to sell products, right? To grow and scale a business, once upon a time, you could just sell a product. The reason why, in my opinion, I believe Coca-Cola and Pepsi have always done well is because they are lifestyle brands. So you tap into the emotional psyche of the lifestyle.
Right.
And that's exactly what we've done through community partnerships, through givebacks, through philanthropy. And as a result of that, it makes it a lot easier to be able to scale, because people know when Slutty Vegan is coming in this community, they're going to help make the community better.
Right. And I'm so curious, how do you find the different people to partner up with, and who do you choose to do that with along the way? If someone's just starting, where do they begin? Do they go to Instagram? What is the tactical sort of first step that someone can take to say, you're a good partner, you're going to help me, I'm going to help you, we're going to do this together?
So you don't technically need to get a partner at first, right? If you want practical, I'll give you practical.
Yeah,
you have a small business, let's say it's Thanksgiving, okay? I'm going to be so practical. It is Thanksgiving, you want to do something in the community. You buy your turkeys or your tofurkeys, okay? Whatever you buy. And you do a food drive in front of your business. Okay, you get a publicist and say, hey, I want to share the good news that I have these turkeys that I want to give out to the community, and it's available for anybody that wants them. It's the holiday season. People want turkeys. My restaurant is supplying them for the people in the community. You want them, come get it. What the news will do is they will do a write-up in the video and they will say, Slutty Vegan is doing a tofurkey giveaway. And if you were in the community and you want turkeys, come and get it. They'll come get the turkeys and they'll go home and be happy with their friends. And then when they tell the story of, what did you do for Thanksgiving? Well, Slutty Vegan gave me a turkey and we ate it here. And then now it's on their mind. So it's a win for them because they got a meal to be able to support and sustain their family. And then they'll think about Slutty Vegan and will want to come back to the business because we all love to support businesses that do good for the community. It's simple as 1, 2, 3. And you wash, rinse, and repeat. And everybody literally wins in the equation. Because while you're helping people out, people are learning more about the fact that you're a business that's committed and rooted to community, and people will always want to support that.
And it's not just a transaction, right?
And it's not just
a transaction. It's
absolutely.
I think that's so important for anyone building a business. It's like when you're building a business, you're building relationships and friendships along the way, and like that's how I know you. And then eventually, like, you started using Headley and Bennett, but it didn't start there, and that's so crucial.
And then I want to tag in partnerships here. Partnerships are very important, right? I'll give you another example. So last year we partnered with Shake Shack to do a Slutty Shack burger.
Yeah, girl,
so here
that's awesome.
I am. I'm a small fry, and obviously Shake Shack is a $1 billion brand.
Yeah.
So they wanted to work with me, and I realized, well, I want to work with them too. So like, they need me just like I need them, right? So it was a partnership where we were able to come together and expose both brands to a whole new audience. And what it did for us is it introduced us to that Shake Shack audience. And what it did for them is it made them cool and hip all over again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Totally.
Shake Shack, y'all are cool. I like y'all. But I say all that to say those partnerships were very valuable because it didn't cost us anything.
Right.
It was a good relationship build. So now when I go out, people are like, Pinky, bring the Slutty Shack back. It was just for a limited time.
Right.
But what it showed us is that when you partner with the right people at the right time, it will give you a level of leverage that money cannot pay for.
That's right.
Yeah.
And it's magic. It's different.
It's magic.
You can't buy that. You can't buy love.
You can't buy love.
I always say that. You can't buy love. You got to build it. Brick by brick, street by street, chef by chef.
Absolutely.
You build that community.
Yes.
I love this. So, Sarah, we're going to take it over to you, sister. So, for all these different restaurants that you're now opening, you guys don't have ghost kitchens. What's your plan with that? Why do you not have ghost kitchens? And is that something you want to do at some point in the future? I'm sure everybody's asking themselves, like, oh my God, should we do that? Should we not? So where's your head at?
Yeah, I think it's an important consideration. I think it's a very popular conversation right now. I think for us, we're still such a minuscule brand that it's really important for us to, I think, be on the street, get the brand recognition, be in front of people, be actually in our communities and not hidden behind ghost kitchens. They have their place and they're really, I think, valuable. But also for us, we've looked at it and the economics don't work for us as well. So that's an important consideration as well. I think we have a very equipment intensive build out. And so it is a little bit more investment in our space, but on the converse, what you were saying about revenue, it's like we can generate more revenue that way, and because we have a more robust build out. And you can't really do that in ghost kitchens as easily. There's a lot of constraints for like how you can use the space and what you have control over. And I'm like, well, if we're putting that much infrastructure into a ghost kitchen, then we might as well have frontage. We might as well be seen by all of our people and be a part of the communities that we're in, just like Pinky's talking about. And that's the whole reason that we're doing it. We want to be a part of these communities, especially while we grow here in our city in LA.
Oh, thanks. Whoever's applauding back there, I love you. I love you. Just keeping the vibe going. Okay, Erin, so you have talked about how you have really great guest acquisition, right? And you have a service strategy of omnichannel. Can you tell us a little bit about that? What does that mean? And like, what is an omnichannel approach to utilizing technology? Like, how does one do that in the restaurant business?
So what's this word, omnichannel, like
I know, right? That's like
throwing
we
words
use it in
out
direct
there.
to consumer, not
So-
in restaurants.
yeah,
So
I
so-
have never heard it before.
So the way that we think about omnichannel is really a way to reach consumers where they want to be met, right?
Okay.
Through multiple channels. And so what we've learned at Starbird is that not everybody wants to interface with us the same way. Some people want to walk in the door and talk to a human being and order something and connect, and that's a beautiful thing. And because I'm a hospitality person at heart, and that's where I come from, and I love that. But other people, they don't want to talk to anybody. They really don't. And I was like, do I want to serve them food? Do they still love our food? Do they want to connect in different ways? We're like, well, we need to reach those people too. So we have our own app. We have a web app way to reach our food. We have kiosks in our building because some people feel stressed talking to someone. They want to navigate the experience digitally in a different way. We have third-party delivery. We have catering partners who we introduce our food to who order on digitally through their digital interface of a catering partner every day. So we have virtual brands. We have ghost kitchens you can get to. So our different channels are multiplicitous. I don't know if that's a word. I made it up if it isn't. And,
I like it.
and more syllables, please. And so that's how we think about it. We want to meet the customer where they want to be met, grow our sales through those channels. And, you can't be everything to everyone, and you have to analyze where it makes sense and where it doesn't. And we keep finding that there's a lot of different ways that people can connect to Starbird, and that's our approach.
And have you had to, get a lot of funding to be able to go through all those different omni-channels?
I don't think there's a direct correlation with the funding to the omnichannel, right? So we were scrappy like anyone else is. We opened, people are like, how do you build a chain of restaurants? We're like, start with one really good one. It's like, that's the way to do it. You make a great restaurant. Did we kill it the first day? No, but we tried to do things differently. We created our own app at day one. We didn't build it ourselves. We partnered with our POS provider. We partnered with an app builder. We had an IT person be able to have it talk to the restaurant. We were the first restaurant where you could order on the app, show up and say, I'm here, and it talked to the restaurant. Well, that was really cool, and Chick-fil-A copied it, McDonald's copied it.
We copied it. We copied it too. We did
and we were way ahead of our time, and the technology sort of worked, you know what I mean? Because we didn't have the $3 million to build our own technology.
Right.
And so we actually shifted. We stopped doing that after a while because Starbucks trained everyone to say, well, I'll just order ahead, walk in the door, grab my coffee and go. That's actually more convenient than sitting in my car wondering, are they going to bring it out? Do they know I'm here? Can I talk to them? Can they talk to me? So we weren't afraid to try things. And we knew that the drive-through of old was broken because if you think about, sitting in a queue for 20 minutes in a drive-through, get food a lot faster today, right? It's, order ahead, order pickup, and delivery, right? What's the most convenient? Right here in this really comfortable chair, that's convenient, right? So that's changed in the last 5 years. So we think about it that way.
I love that. And have you found that one channel is better than another, or that has been a sleeper hit maybe, that you were surprised?
The most profitable channel and the best channel, there's two. Really, one is you order the food and you get handed it in a dine-in experience, because I think our dining rooms are comfortable and beautiful and fun and energized, and people get to connect with people. And I just personally love that. It's not the most profitable, but I think it's brand building.
And what percentage of the business is through that channel?
It's a small amount. We're 85% off premise. Okay,
wow.
So we have small boxes that do big volume. It's all about sales per square foot in our ecosystem. The most profitable is someone who orders on our app and picks up the food, because they order, they pull up, they grab a bag, they go. They are happiest. It's convenient. It fits their lifestyle. It's the lowest impact on our building.
So let's transition a bit to Miss Slutty Vegan. I want you to tell us a little bit about, as you've been on this journey, how many years has it been now?
So Slutty Vegan turned 4 years old on August 6th.
Wow.
Yes. So that means a Slutty Vegan just lost a tooth, okay? Still eating solids, going outside, getting their clothes dirty here and there. But yeah, 4 years, and we are still alive.
Well
and
done.
And we are still growing.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
So in this 4-year journey, I think it's always important to talk about the hard parts too, right? Because sometimes people look up on stage and they're like, how did they do it? I'm over here struggling. Can you share a time when something was challenging on your growth and how you just kind of pushed yourself to keep on going regardless, and how you got better because of it?
Every day is a challenge.
Tell me about it.
So I'm a very transparent entrepreneur, right? I'm not the one that's like, yes, everything. No. Some days I feel like throwing in the towel, to be honest, but I never throw it in. I'll never let myself get to that point. But I also get frustrated because the perfectionist in me wants everything to be great, right? I am the type of person that experience means everything to me. I don't care about money. I know I'm gonna make that. I care about how the consumer feels when they walk through the door, because it's not the person that comes in for the first time, it's the person that comes in the second, the third, and the fourth time. So when it comes to customer service, I'm very anal with that, and I have been so anal to a fault where I've lost really good relationships in the workplace that I have learned. That's the first thing. The second thing, I had to make sure that all of my paperwork in the business is aligned. When you work at Slutty Vegan, you got to sign a confidentiality agreement, an NDA. You got to all the agreements that I didn't have once before. I do that to protect the business. One, because we're very high profile, and two, in the restaurant business, it's so easy to get sued. It's so easy for them to go down to the city on you if they feel like, they didn't get what they wanted out of the workplace. This is real business. That happens, right? And when I first started Slutty Vegan, somebody attempted to sue me for a lot of money.
Wow.
And because of that, I made sure I had a really good attorney. And I needed that to happen.
Yeah.
Because now I have one of the best in the business, and I make sure that all of my things are buttoned up. Talking about hard. Somebody tried to steal our trademarks and websites, but we got ahead of it with a really good attorney. I've lost some really good people along the way, people that were with me from the beginning, and do I wish that they could be here with me today?
Yeah.
Absolutely, but I also understand that everybody can't go, okay? Seriously, and we got to learn that in business, and I had to learn that the hard way, because I would be holding on to a lot of dead weight just because they started with me, just because they worked 12 hours a day with me in the beginning, but they were taking up space for me to find the right people who were smarter than me to be able to help me grow this brand. So 4 years later, am I still learning? Absolutely. But now I know boundaries. Now I know when to identify when somebody is a cancer in my business, and when I have to cut that cancer out so that I can grow. Because growing and scaling a business is not for the faint of heart. Like, you really got to be dedicated, focused, clear, direct. Cannot be an emotional entrepreneur or a CEO, and you got to be strictly business, but also be empathetic to the people around you so that people will love coming to work. So I learn lessons every single day. I've had bad contractors, right? Just like I'm sure a lot of us here. I have had people who walked away from me in the last hour, and I had to go in the kitchen and be in the kitchen and passing out bags of food. Like, I've had moments like that, but I needed those things to happen so that I could be more strategic in my approach and growing Slutty Vegan, and we've been doing a really good job at it now. 4 years old is a long time, so yeah. And I'll do a master class on that one day, because some days I'll be ready to pull my hair.
I want to see a TED Talk of that.
Yes.
I'm going to take your class.
Sarah, I know you also went through all kinds of challenges through COVID, and you really turned a lot of things around. And honestly, I ate a lot of Kismet rotisserie during COVID. Oh. What are some of those things it's true. What are some things that you can share with people as they're on their growth path and hitting the bumps in the road, as I like to call them? They are not, they're not invisible. They're there. They're very visible.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I think a big thing for me is just like recognizing the sacrifice it takes to dedicate yourself to a project of this scale for yourself, just how much space it takes up in your own life. Like you're saying, many moments that you want to give it all up and walk away, and I definitely faced that conversation a lot of times, especially during the pandemic. And I think a lot of people who know us also know that we went through a partnership breakup during the pandemic as well, and now we're on the other side of it, and it feels great to be in the position that we're in, but it was really hard. And now we get to have full control, and that is a double-edged sword of where we're at with our businesses, and we get to make all our own decisions and take all of the blame, which again, double-edged sword. But at the end of the day, I'd rather be at this place than not being able to make my own calls. And so I think it's like the sacrifice, what you have to give to it, the amount of time it takes in your life. You just have to be that crazy, I think, to really want to give it your all. And what was the question?
No, you nailed it. That's perfect. Aaron, I want to hear from you too. Tell us a little bit about it.
The challenges that have overcome.
Yeah, I just want to know, like, what are some moments along the journey that have been challenging enough that you still figured out how to get back up the next day and keep going, but made you a better business
endless.
owner?
I mean, but I was thinking about what you were sharing about people, and it's like this hire slowly, fire quickly is a big one. Like, take the time to find the right people, but when it's wrong, don't rationalize it. Figure out the way to gracefully move forward. I started a concept called World Wraps back in the 90s, and we opened 30 restaurants in 6 years. And I was like, all that on paper, and we were high flying, and we lost everything. Like, it can come and go. And I learned more from failing of growing a restaurant company rapidly than I've ever learned from any of the successes I've ever had. So just, fail fast. Don't breathe your own exhaust along the way. Surround yourself with people who are smarter than you. I mean, there's just a million things that I've learned over time from mistakes. And I started to think of it, and just be humble. And, leading is ultimately bringing the people up around you, not learning, but training. Everything's a learning day, and always just judge your success by the success of those around you.
I love it.
That's all I got.
So good. I will throw one in that I love and I've learned along the way, which is value versus effort. Every time we are looking at something as the business is expanding or growing or evolving, I'm like, how much effort is this going to take and how much value am I getting for it? And when I was a smaller business owner, we wanted to do everything with everyone. It was like yes to everyone. And you only have so much bandwidth. And you start to realize that you don't get the same out of every single thing you're doing. And so we started to have to kind of trim that. And now we're better at saying no than we ever have been. And that's an important part of growing your business and growing strategically. You can't dance at everyone's wedding. And that's hard when you want to be friends with everyone, right? So I've had to learn that, and it's been hard, but really good now that we're 10 years in. Crazy.
I love
journey. So we're going to throw this out to the audience because there's a bunch of questions I know people have, but I'm going to ask you guys one more before we get into this. Supply chain. Whew. Big hot topic. I feel like 3 years ago, no one talked about supply chain, and now it's like
topic,
the buzzword of all time for everyone's industry.
Buzzkill.
But exactly. Talk about a freaking buzzkill.
Let's talk about supply chain.
Yeah. Here we
go.
go, baby. Can we get a round of applause for supply chain, please? Just humor us. Thank you.
It's a slow clap.
Okay, good. It's a slow clap for supply chain. So, what have you guys been doing to battle supply chain as you continue to grow strategically? It's like getting punched in the face every day. So what do you do about it? How are you fighting it? How are you fixing it? How are you tackling it?
So I'll start. It's like going through a breakup and waiting for the person to come and break up with you, but they never show up.
Oof.
Like,
brutal.
Supply chain is the worst that it's ever been since I've been in business. It's at minimum, it's taking 16 weeks to get equipment, right? So when you're trying to be on schedule and you have a timeline with your GCs and you got different people coming in for different things, but your freezers aren't coming for 16 weeks, so you got to sit and wait, that costs money because GCs want to go on to the next job. And then when your stuff comes in, they're working on another job. So dealing with that has been probably one of the biggest headaches in scaling in a pandemic, right? So what we've started doing is we started bulk ordering. So bulk ordering equipment at the same time, one, is cheaper that way. Two, when it comes in, now we have an overflow of equipment. So when it's time to be able to put the stuff in stores, we don't have to sit and wait. And that's specifically from the restaurant side because it takes a long time for windows to be put together. It takes a long time for them to put together like the stoves and all of that stuff. And I didn't realize that until I realized like, okay, well, where's our stuff? Like what's happening? So now we are in the process of finding better avenues outside of bulk ordering to make it make sense. Like it got to the point where I'm on like Alibaba trying to figure out like how I could buy the stuff for us to do it in-house, right? Like, and I know that sounds crazy, but like you gotta get super creative, especially if you are in a position like us where we are in real time scaling a business and we can't sit around and wait for these manufacturers to take their time because they don't have the proper resources they need from another country so that they can build it for it to get us in our hands. So we've been trying. It's been difficult. So say a prayer for us on the supply chain
Say a prayer
issue.
and bulk buying.
Yes.
I love it. Okay, so bulk buying is a hot tip. What about you, Aaron? What are some ways that you've mitigated the risk?
Well, I mean, we've been in the chicken business, and if anyone's been paying attention, 6 months ago, chicken doubled in price. So if you've got a P&L and chicken, let's say your cost of goods are all in 30%, hypothetically, a business. Let's say a third of that, 10% is chicken. Well, if that doubles in price over a 2-month period, okay, well that 10 points from the bottom line that disappeared, you can't raise your prices by 50% overnight, right? You got to, it's been very challenging. And so a lot of it has been how do we creatively sell things that have the least amount of chicken at a chicken restaurant, or promote salads because there's only 2 tenders instead of tender boxes that have 4, or wow, the wing market just crashed. Let's promote wings tomorrow. I mean, just everything and anything creatively you can do to just mitigate. And then the other is just drive sales, right? We're up 25% again this year over last year after 25 and 25. We're 100% up 3 years. It's crazy, right? We're making the same amount of money we made this year as last year on 25% more sales, which kind of sucks. But the good news, silver lining, is chicken just tanked more than it's ever tanked in history. Okay, so now it's under the price of 2019. I don't think we're going to lower prices. We might do some promotions to drive some more traffic. We're going to make a little bit of it back. So we didn't lose the customers. We took it in the shorts. We lost some points, some percentage points, but we didn't lose dollars. And now we're going to reap the benefits of it moving forward.
Okay, so I'm hearing you say you sort of like get people to buy other things, appetizers, salads, wings.
Up to a certain point, they're going to buy chicken. Like we took it, right? We lost 5 points, but it was percentage points, but we sold a lot of more stuff. We were lucky to have the top line growing and just leaned in, kept leaning in. Sales cure all ills. I guarantee you up your sales, even if your costs go up, you're going to have better flow through. Like it will always cure all ills.
But you know what I also keep hearing from all of you guys is your willingness to pivot and adapt. You're not just sitting around hoping for a silver bullet to fly from the sky.
Hope
you're
is
like,
not a
okay,
strategy.
this is not working. Let's try
you have to
something
be.
different. And I think as small and big business owners, you have to be willing to look yourself in the mirror and say, this is not working, I must shift something. And that is a hard pill to swallow sometimes. So you got to be honest with yourself about the shifts that need to be made. Okay, Sarah, I want you to answer the question too on
real
the
quick.
delightful supply chain, and then we're going to open it to the audience.
I would just add to this that we have a very diverse menu, and so I think that that's really helped us. So not one thing. We haven't been affected by even though we are a chicken restaurant, we sell a lot of vegetables, we sell a lot of pita, we sell a lot of hummus, we sell a lot of soup, we sell a lot of cookies. We have a broad menu that really helps us. And when you want to adjust prices, I think you can look at the whole mix and not just need chicken to go up by 25%, but you can do a little 5% or a little 10% jump in a lot of places and have your product mix sort of balance out at the end. So that's been really helpful for us. And I'll just comment quickly on the scale side. If you can afford it, I would highly recommend a project manager when you're thinking about growing. It's been invaluable for us. It's moving much more quickly because we hired someone who knows better than we do about growing and about sourcing all the equipment, et cetera. And so that's been a really big thing.
Love that.
Yeah.
Okay, amazing. And I'll just say one last thing. Even for people that are not in restaurants directly, there's so many layers to the ecosystem of the restaurant world. For us in COVID, we were slaughtered by the supply chain. It's like fabrics we used to receive. I have an apron and a chefware business, and we would receive fabrics from all over the world, and they got stuck on boats. The freight went up 3 times over, et cetera, et cetera. But what we did was we actually moved our entire supply chain to Mexico because of that. So it forced the hand into something that was a much better long-term solution, and it decreased our footprint, and our blueprint, like the amount of impact we have on a carbon footprint is much less now because we're not having to ship things from all over the country. So sometimes, from all over the world, sometimes when you have a challenge like that, it actually ends up being a gift.
It's always like that.
It's a gift.
Yes.
It's a hard, painful, obnoxious, frustrating gift. But then you look back and you're like, damn it, that was great. Why didn't I do that sooner? And we went from using 130 fabrics to now 6 fabrics.
Oh, wow.
So you can imagine the economies of scale of buying 6 fabrics instead of so many. So just always take those moments, take a beat, look them in the eye and be like, is this something where I can shift for the better, even if it's painful today? And those are the companies that succeed.
Can I add one tiny thing also? I just want people to also not underestimate the power of your local relationships, because just commenting on chicken specifically, our chicken price, while it was skyrocketing everywhere, because of our relationship with our local purveyor and how much business we're giving them, they didn't touch our chicken price, which was extremely lucky because of the relationship that we'd had for many years with this purveyor and the value of our business to that person. So they took the hit for us, which was huge. And you see that over and over again when you develop your personal relationships.
Yep. That's so true. Okay, amazing. So I am going to open it up to the audience. Does anyone have any questions for our amazing guests up here? Yes, in the back.
Hi. Oh my God, I'm so excited. How are you guys?
Hi.
Good.
My name is Lakeisha. I own a company called 1987 Juices, and I'm also in the racing industry. I am 3rd generation racetrack owner in South Carolina, where I'm from. But I went to school in Georgia, so I am a huge Pinky Cole fan. Hey. So thank you for everything you've done. When it comes to our juice company, we are in a commercial kitchen, so we're operating out of that space. However, our customers, they wanted so badly for us to be a storefront, but when COVID happened, we started off in the mall. The malls were closed because of COVID, so we just transitioned 100% to our commercial kitchen, and we opened up the doors for nationwide shipping, and we started doing doorstep deliveries, which has been great. Now that everything's opening back up, our customers, they pull up to the kitchen and they treat it like it's a storefront. People come and they take their Instagram pictures out in the parking lot, and they like to have little block parties. And now we're looking to scale into a space. But instead of going to the storefront, I would like to get your thoughts on the model of maybe like subleasing spaces in bigger brands. I know, Pinky, you talked about partnering with brands to bring your brand up. And I wanted to get you guys' insight, or if you guys had interest, Pinky, if you had any interest, since you're bringing in smaller brands to possibly sublease. Like I know you went to Inglewood earlier. I don't know if that had a floor plan for like a juice bar, but I know that's something that you started prior to Slutty Vegan. And so I wanted to get you guys' take on subleasing space to smaller brands who have, you know, community impact, who are looking to house their brands, but maybe not go straight into the storefront model, something that's like in between. So that's something that I'm trying to do, but I wanted you guys' input or advice on like how to navigate that space.
So I'll go first. Yes, and yes to all that you said. What kind of is it? Fresh squeezed juices? What are you doing? Lemonade?
Thank you so much. So it's raw, organic. It's no HPP, and we bottle and distribute everything ourselves.
What's HPP?
HPP is, you know, when people sell things. When you go to the grocery store and you see the juices in a grocery store, they're raw. But they've gone through. They're pasteurized. So the hydraulic press portion, we don't do that.
Got it. Okay, I know what that is. All right, so our Slutty Vegan juices are all local vendors, -1. So we encourage local vendors to come. So I would love to connect with you on the LA side, number one. And I mean that. So like, let's connect on that because we are looking for some vendors when we come to this side. So while you were talking, I had this crazy idea for you, right? I have never, okay, I don't eat fish, y'all, but follow me, walk with me. Okay, have y'all ever been into a fish market and it's like fresh fish, fresh vegetables, and they got the big steamer, and you put it in a bag? No? Anybody? No? Mm-hmm. Okay. And you put it in the steamer, and then it comes out, and voila, you get your bag of steamed vegetables. What if you did that same thing, but it's fresh fruits and vegetables, and people can pick out all the fruits that they want to juice their own juice, and now it becomes an experience. So remember when I said experience is the key. People aren't necessarily buying products, they're tapping to an experience. So now this is date night. You can bring your kids here. Whatever you want to make on your own, now it feels like you get to be in charge of the experience because you pick up your bananas, you pick up whatever you want to pick up, and then there's like stations where you can juice your own meal and make it an experience. And you do one of these in big cities and you still keep your ghost model, however you do it, and then you still also selling Slutty Vegan, but now it's an experience and people can come and take pictures and it's Instagrammable moments here, and now you have a whole business that is based on experience and people can drink healthy at the same time. So that's my idea.
Love
for
that.
you. Think about that.
Yes.
Okay, love that. All right. Other questions? Yes, here on the left. Right there. Yeah, right there. Hand up. Yep.
Hello.
Hi.
So I actually, there was a few questions that I had, but one, just Pinky, when you talked about transparency, it kind of popped in my head. When we talk about expanding our business and growing our business, I just wanted to hear from you all about how to deal with conflict resolution when it occurs, right? We were just talking about, what's the chef show, Bear, and one of the earlier groups that we were in, how to deal with problems when they happen amongst business partners, amongst employees. I think that it can be like a taboo subject or something that people don't always want to talk about, but it's really important for me, and especially as a vegan chef in the plant-based community, we're already so small. And I feel like people have these disagreements. Some of them are bigger than others, but I'm always just thinking about like the bigger picture of getting to our goal. And I feel like oftentimes, you know, whether it's miscommunication or ego or pride, you know, people don't talk for 5 or 10 years. And you're like, well, what happened? You're like, well, 10 years ago, she looked at me wrong and we're still not speaking. So I just was hoping that you all could say a little something about that.
Be a first mover, you know. If it means something to resolve conflict, you know, bring that out there, right? And sometimes you may need moderation, you may need help from someone else, but be authentically say, hey, I'm here to solve this problem. Maybe we can't do it together. Maybe we need some help. But to sit and wait for someone else to solve the problem, you know, you might be waiting that 10 years.
Yeah, and I think something that we tell our employees all the time, especially our management, is to be really proactive, because the best way to avoid dealing with conflict is to avoid conflict in the first place. So you want to, I think, encourage yourself, encourage the people working with you to be really proactive about speaking their minds and creating, I think, the right environment for people to come to you. Also, like having people know, whether it's like within your broader community or within the community of your business, I think creating, you know, a safe space for people to be able to come to you and be able to deal with the things that they're feeling and have it not be intimidating, to be able to talk about the things that are bothering them. I think it sounds really straightforward. It's really difficult. And I think that people don't want to talk about the things that are bothering them, but I think the more you encourage them to actually come to you, or the more that you proactively come to people being like, hey, I noticed this thing, or encourage your management to be like, hey, I noticed this thing, like maybe let's chat about it before it blows up into something bigger. I think that has been the best angle, but also conflict is going to happen, and I think it's about patience and about hearing everybody out. It takes a lot of time, and it's worth it.
And then I want to add one thing in here. Specifically in the workplace, I had to learn this very hard lesson that I, as the CEO of the company, can't be the person that's trying to solve all of the problems, right? I hire out to do that. I hire a chief people officer. I hire an HR professional to be that cultural person, that there's a 24, what is it, what they call it? Open door policy, right? Where people can always come and speak to that person. And then there's a chain of command. When they see me, I want to be the peace for everybody when Pinky Code comes around. And hiring the right HR professional to be able to tap into all of the people who work with you is very important, because you'll realize that you'll have a lot less issues and you don't have to be in the weed of all the BS.
Thank you so much, guys. You guys were amazing.